Well, good morning, Kelowna and the Valley. It is a beautiful Saturday morning. We've got gardening in full force, and here we are, Ken Salvail and Don Burnett, talking to you on a Saturday morning. 1,801 shows.
Yeah.
And, we're enjoying every show we've enjoyed. Memorable. All these are memorable.
You betcha.
We're going to start with the tips and plants of the week, as we normally do.
You betcha.
My tip of the week is, save some money. I like that. Save some money. Plant something, and I'll talk about a few of these things, that reseeds every year. You buy it once, you don't have to buy it again. And, tied right into that is my plant of the week, which is nasturtiums.
Oh, yes. There you go. There's one.
We used nasturtiums a couple of years ago in some planters along underneath our grapevines. And now nasturtiums come up every year underneath our grapevines.
Yeah.
And they look great.
Yeah, it's fabulous. The ones that grow from seed always look really nice.
We call them nasties.
Yeah, there you go.
And they're in bloom already.
Wow.
Yeah, there you go.
Fabulous. Well, there you go. I also have a tip on a plant this week. And my tip of the week is that when you're replacing sprinklers on your irrigation system, you should always stick to the same brand that you already have. Each brand name, each company that produces a sprinkler, they have a certain spray pattern that's designed to work with their own kind. If you keep switching out to different varieties all the time, your spray patterns are going to get mixed up, and it's not going to cover very well. So always stick with the same variety of sprinkler that you have to start with, and you'll have best coverage. Now, my plant of the week this week is the Ranunculus asiaticus, which is the Persian buttercup, and it's one of the nicer flowers for cut flowers. It produces a very hardy, sturdy stem, large heads, double flowers, just a gorgeous thing, a beautiful, soft, citrusy fragrance, and just one of the best all-around cut flowers, and highly recommend it. And they are already coming to the end of their cycle right now, so if you want to pick up a bouquet of some beautiful Persian buttercups or the ranunculus, you can go to the Kelowna Farmers Market today, look up the Red Roof Farms, and talk to Ian there, and see if you can pick up a couple dozen. They are unbelievable. They are incredible. So I would say check it out, Kelowna Farmers Market today. Look for the Red Roof Farms and get yourself some ranunculus. Now that's my tips and plants for this week. Remember to check growercoach.com.
Very good, Ken. It's Father's Day, right?
It is
tomorrow. Father's
up.
Day tomorrow. Okay. Happy Father's Day, Ken.
Yeah, happy Father's Day to you.
Well,
and everybody.
Here's the deal. This is why I'm, tying it in with gardening. When we had our little gal Lindsay, we adopted 2 kids. Fabulous experience and wonderful kids. They've grown up to be fabulous people. But we did have our biological child show up, Lindsay, our youngest, and I just remember waiting, and we got to the date where she was supposed to arrive, and we waited, and we sat up in the night. We had Donna was sitting there. My mom came over, and she put her feet in warm water, say, this will get the moving on. This is in March, Ken. And you know what we're like in March. Like, we're rolling.
Crazy busy
we're rolling.
In the garden center business.
And I'm waiting for this baby to arrive. Well, it feels just like that right now. Because my cylindric opuntria, or cholla opuntia, cholla cactus for common name, it's so close. I look at it every day for the bloom to open. It's like waiting for a baby to come.
Yeah.
And so I thought it ties right in with Father's Day. Maybe tomorrow it'll bloom. It's that close. It's just about to open it. I just think tomorrow, Father's Day, it'll bloom. I'll be a daddy again.
There you go. Well, it is. It's a fascinating thing. There you go. Gardening is all about anticipation. Yeah. And I always say that. It's like with the tree peonies. I just wait and wait all year, and then they finally come out, and they're just so beautiful. And they just only last for a few days. But, oh, my God, they're gorgeous. And that is the thing with these plants that, they might only bloom for a day. I always talk about my orchid cactuses, and some of those, they really only bloom for about 5 hours. Yeah. But, we wait and wait and wait and wait, and then, and there comes a bud, and then you're just waiting in anticipation. But it can be 4 or 5 weeks before that bud actually starts to, gets ready to open. And then when it opens, it only opens our one I always talk about is our moth orchid, or the I don't know if that's that's wrong name.
Yep.
But the Epiphyllum oxypetalum, which is the night blooming.
The night blooming one. The one I have, the one I was so proud of last year in the summer.
Yeah.
Hopefully it'll bloom again. It probably will.
Yeah, you get several blooms this time, yeah.
But Ken,
Nice.
that's gardening, eh? A lot of folks will say when I say, well, how long does it bloom? Well, about a week or 10 days. Well, why would somebody plant something in the garden that only blooms for a week or 10 days? I said, well, Christmas is only one day. You like it, don't you?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what gardening's about. That beauty of having that thing. Now, wouldn't it be boring if that nighttime orchid cactus bloomed all year?
All the time.
That'd be boring.
I suppose, but it'd be pretty cool. But it'd be cool for the first year or two. And then everybody would have them.
Oh,
and
yeah. There's another orchid cactus bloom. Oh, yeah. Look at the Cylindra opuntia. I'm so confused with this plant. I mean, here we have a cactus that grows 5 or 6 feet tall in the Okanagan, outdoors, all winter long.
Yeah.
Like it's hardy, right? I'm so proud of this plant. I got this plant from John Worthington. Is it John Worthington from the Garden Club? He was a great guy. He moved back east to be with his family, but he and his wife. But they often came on the trips to Seattle with us. But John gave me this little Cola opuntia, about 6 inches long, about inch wide, just a little sliver of it. It is now grown into this huge cactus. It's taller than me. And it's in a pot, and it just stays out all winter. And I got a smaller one too. I got from the gal up in Carameus. But the fascinating thing about it, Ken, even though it's just there's a cactus, let's enjoy it. Blah blah blah. No, I want to find out a little bit more about it. What's it all about? Now you look it up, and it's not Cola cactus as Dan Bruce says. It's Choya cactus. Okay? So in some circles, it's called Cylindropuntia. So it's in that opuntia thing, right? It's a genus of cactus containing species commonly known as Choya, native to northern Mexico and the southwestern United States. They are known for their barbed spines that tenaciously attach to skin, fur, and clothing. Stands of Choya are called Choya gardens. Individuals with these colonies often exhibit the same DNA as they were formerly tubercles of an original plant. Cylindropuntia was formerly treated as a subgenus of Opuntia, but now have been separated based on their cylindrical stems. Opuntia species have flattened stems. That's like our prickly pear cactus up in Knox Mountain. And the presence of papery epidermal sheaths on the spines. Little sheath at the base of the spine. Opuntia has no sheaths. A few species of mat or clump-forming opuntioid cacti are currently placed in the genus Grussonia. Now I'm getting too complicated. That's what I'm saying. This is really deep stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't care. I'm waiting for that bloom. The bloom comes. It's pretty. It's nice. It's in my garden, and I love it. And who cares about all this stuff? Well, I do care about all this stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But it's fabulous. It's fabulous.
Fascinating study. 250-862-2525. If you want to get through to Ken and I and talk about something normal, we'll be happy to help you because that's what we're here for every Saturday morning. We like to answer your gardening questions. And right now, gardening's in full force and lots of stuff going on. I've got a few issues happening. It's funny how every year the garden is different. My onions and garlic are not nearly as fat and juicy and lovely as they normally are. But my tomatoes are flying. My cucumbers are better. My beans are hot. It's just funny because, last year the cucumbers were terrible. I've had more cucumbers this year than I did practically all last year. Production. So it's fascinating how every year is different.
Mm-hmm.
It's one thing I haven't done recently is any real feeding into my garden, and I might do some of that. Get some fertilizer in there and see what's going on.
Yeah, well, it's the plants need it, and that's how you get that robust, beautiful, lush growth. You just want to watch what you give them and make sure you're giving a balanced fertilizer of some sort. And depending on the plant, if it's a leafy plant, it's probably going to like a little more nitrogen, and if it's a rooting plant, it's probably going to like a little less nitrogen. It's really just the nitrogen that goes up and down in most cases. Because both phosphorus and potassium are going to help with the development of roots and development with blooms and fruit. So it's good. Food is important, and compost is really important. Adding that compost.
Get the organisms going in the soil.
Feed the soil.
Very very important to have living soil, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So we do the no dig method. Because we're just too lazy to dig, I guess. Not really. It actually works really well. Is where we don't dig at all. We just keep adding to the surface every year, and we use pretty much as straight a compost as we can. So it pretty much disintegrates. By the time you get to the next spring, you're ready to add another 4 or 6 inches in each spring, and then you're just planting in that surface. And underneath, oh my God, the worms, unbelievable. Because as you and I have mentioned before, the rototilling thing is okay, but it's not really the best thing for the plants, so...
Once a year?
Yeah.
Is about it. But, it does pulverize the soil and break up all those nice chunks that you need to create air. I guess they're called PEDs, P-E-D-S, PEDs.
Yep.
But... to break those up, then that's messing up the structure of the soil. I do spade my garden every year.
Yep.
I just go through and turn it. Just turn it. And
spading or forking,
forking,
using
the
garden fork is really a good tool for that, for sure.
Because the fact is that in nature does not have a rototiller.
Nope. Rototillers are good. They have their moments.
Oh yeah, they have their purpose,
Yeah,
and you're right. And sometimes, Ken, when you've got very heavy soil that needs to be broken up, your rototiller will help with that. Amending clay soils is one of the most important things a person can learn about.
Yeah, hard packed soils of any kind are really hard to deal with. Compacted soils, but the rototiller has its use for sure. It's just once you develop a good base for your garden, it takes years to develop those PEDs and the friable little crumbs and things that make the soil so good. And you just don't want that to be destroyed and turned back into powder. And then it takes another 2 or 3 years to get back to having your PEDs back on track.
We'd better take a break here, Ken. We're blabbing away, and we've gone past our break point. But we do invite your calls. Join the conversation here. It's like just chatting over the back fence about gardening, and that's what we're all about. So we'll be back with more AM 1150 Gardening. Yeah, we're back on a sunny Saturday, and gardening is in full force. We are in the spring of 2021. And Ken, I'm really enjoying the fact that things are opening up a little bit more. We're seeing a few people on the beach, and we're seeing some crowds show up, and that's really a great thing. I think it's going to be a much better summer this year than it was last year.
Yeah.
And you can have get-togethers, show off your gardens, and have people come by and do garden walks and that sort of thing. Which is something we missed last year.
Yeah, and we're missing this year too, really, because the garden tours. I haven't heard that there's any. I'm not too sure, but
I don't think the garden tours will happen.
No, but maybe next year.
But private garden tours, and I think the garden club will probably have their normal. Well, let's tour Mrs. Jones's garden, and so Mrs. Jones opens up her garden to the garden club, and they come by in groups, and everything's safe and happy.
Yeah,
it's great though. But we are getting out. We're getting through this, and before you know it, we'll be back to somewhat normal, and have some fun. But the gardens, the plants don't know there's a pandemic out there. My cucumber plants are just happy. They're not wearing masks. They're just in there doing their thing. I mean, the plants don't know this. So
yeah, I think they're probably wondering what's going on because I think a lot of people are paying attention to them that never paid attention to them before.
Yeah, that's right.
That's one thing I've noticed is it seems like everybody's got a much heightened awareness of plants. And, without all the airplanes flying around, if you think about it, there's way less pollution. So we're getting a little bit higher ultraviolets. Your UV rays are up, but because there's not as much pollution up there blocking them, I'm sure. So, that's a sort of a good thing, I guess. It's sort of 50-50. But the good thing is really ultimately that people are experiencing the gardens, are getting in touch with them, with the plant side of their life, and they're buying house plants and buying annuals and planting vegetables and growing the garden and checking the trees. Just that heightened awareness. Yeah. It makes all the difference, and the plants really, really. They respond for sure. Absolutely.
Well, it's something that if you've been in it as long as you and I have, you see the ebbs and flows of the garden and how it does well in certain years and so. But what amazes me is 90% of the time, the commercial gardeners, the guys that grow the gals that grow tomatoes, corn, and all that stuff. 90% of the time, Ken, they have a perfect crop. It's consistent every year. It's kind of like when we were growing our poinsettias. We got to the point where we had things pinned down. We knew how to grow them, how and time them and everything. And, we never really had a crop failure in our pack annuals. So once in a while we have some seed issues or whatever. But you get so that there's stuff. And yet, we home gardeners, the consistency is not always there for some reason. It's hard to.
Yeah, it's just the world. Our soils in our backyards vary so much, and from year to year, season to season, they change. I find that vegetables are a little bit particular. Like when you're doing a huge field, you drive your manure spreader up and down the rows, and you put tons and tons of manure out there, and it all gets plowed in or whatever, and the whole field is pretty consistent. And over 20 or 30 years of doing that, or 50 years or 100 years, soil gets pretty good. And so that's that's one of the things that really helps the process. And then growing a crop, the first 3 times you grow it, you learn. And then the 4th time you grow it, you go, I think I got it figured out. Yeah. And then you do it a certain way, or you talk to people, you learn. Everybody learns. Farmers are learning. Everybody's learning, and we're learning. Like I learned something about plants every single day. Always something new that pops up. And what's interesting now is that when I find a plant or something that I don't know, it's really a heightened awareness, and so I want to learn it.
Yeah.
So it's really a fun thing.
It is. It's great.
Yeah.
I want to say hello to a long-time regular listener. I've been pointed out that Gisela listens to the show every week, and I want to say hello from Ken and I. Hello, Gisela. Thank you for listening. We appreciate that very much. And as I said before, happy Father's Day. It's Father's Day tomorrow. And we hope all you fathers out there get treated. I know we're going to have a get-together tomorrow at my daughter and her wife's place out in Rutland. We're going to have a get-together there and celebrate Father's Day, which is, and of course, Bree's dad, Steve, is in Australia, so we will, later in the afternoon when it's early morning in Australia, we will give him a call and chat.
Get him on the video.
Dad to dad.
Video chat?
Yeah, we go FaceTime usually.
Yeah.
It works well.
Yeah, it's a different world out there now that we can just pick up a phone and see our loved ones in the picture and talk back and forth.
Technology out there, Ken, in our industry as well, but also just for daily use. For instance, I use the Weather Channel quite a bit, and I use my phone for reminders of appointments consults and things like that. I use the phone for taking pictures and sending them. I haven't used my my SLR camera for probably a year and a half now. I haven't.
It's kind of big and clunky.
It's big and clunky, and the new camera in the various phones they're incredible.
They're incredible,
and they take great pictures of plants. Mm-hmm. And I like to put mine on portrait sometimes because it focuses on the plant itself, and behind is all kind of blurry.
Yep.
It's kind of a neat thing.
Yeah,
so it's
nice
all
effect.
automatic. Nice. The technology, I think, is good. Sometimes, though, it's darn frustrating. The technology.
Yes.
Very frustrating.
Yeah, takes time to learn, you bet.
We've got a great friend of ours calling in right now. Ken, it's Dominic Ramponi. Good morning, Dominic.
How are two knowledgeable gentlemen doing this morning?
We're trying to find it.
Well, good luck. When you find it, let me know. I need some.
Yeah.
I just want to let you guys know I was out in a couple of our cherry blocks, and they're starting to turn a little bit now.
What variety? What
yet,
varieties?
But, somewhere in the first 2 weeks of July, we're guessing. Yep. But it will be probably a good crop.
Wonderful.
A lot more than last year. A little bit of frost we had in January did minimal damage, but it looks good. So we're pretty excited about the upcoming season and trying some of those good BC cherries. There's some ready from Alder and Asuyas now for sure.
I'm seeing that. Now, Dominic, what varieties is ready to pop here?
Oh, boy. The first, I can't remember last year.
Yeah.
The first ones we had, we do have some vans. We don't have any Bings, but it was definitely a Summerland variety. It escapes me.
It'd be fun to know which is the first one that actually comes to fruition into
right.
fruition.
Now some of our orchards are like you might find some ready in Lower Rutland, but with our elevation of orchards, we're tendency to be a week, maybe 4 or 5 days later than some of the other ones.
It's all about elevation.
So some of the other ones would be coming first. Ours same variety might be a week later, but then we'll have because we plant the same varieties in different elevations of orchards. That's why sometimes we have the same variety for a longer period of time because of there. But the orchard at Layer Cake Mountain's coming along really, really nice now. So. We're quite excited about that one because that gets quite a bit of sun, that Layer Cake Mountain location. So we're quite excited. Things are happening, and it's a little too early to pull the garlic yet. Don't get fooled by the sunshine.
I know. I have pulled a little bit because I just love fresh garlic. So I've cheated a bit.
Well, I tell you. I'm just going to go in now in a little bit, and I'm actually going to cheat a little bit and pull one clove of garlic, slice it really thin, and put it on my toast. It's absolutely fantastic.
I know. And then we visit each other, and I back off.
Yeah, exactly. That's the way it goes. Well, you guys have a good day, and thank you for supporting agriculture.
Thank you.
Thanks,
and Dominic, we will be out to see you as soon as those cherries turn red.
Yeah, I'll give you a text or an email and let you know.
Thank you, buddy.
Sounds great.
Okay, have a good one.
Take care.
Bye.
There you go.
The cherry crop's coming on. There's nothing like that's a sign that summer is here when the cherry crop comes on.
Yeah.
Well, we've got a gentleman waiting in the sidelines there to talk to us. We got Dan Bruce. He's going to have something special again this week for us. But we got to take that break first. We're going to take a short break. We'll be back with more AM 1150 Garden Show. We're back with you on AM 1150 Garden Show, and we have a regular phone-in guest who is one of those people that is fascinating and knowledgeable and has all sorts of different interests in his life, and it's Dan Bruce. Good morning, Dan.
Good morning, Dan. Are you there?
Good morning. I am here.
Ah, there you are.
Good.
Yes. Well... How are things this morning?
Well, they're very good, Dan, and I'm wondering whether you're going to carry on with your recognition of First Nations Aboriginal gardening. and how their contribution made it so we can eat things.
Well, I am certainly going to continue with it. And there's an awful lot of stuff out there that people take for granted. Without Aboriginal American agriculture, there would be no potatoes. There'd be no sweet potatoes, no tomatoes, no corn, only half the beans, no chocolate, no vanilla, no peanuts, no chili peppers, no squash, no pineapples, no Coca-Cola, no sunflower seed.
Oh,
and in the gardens, there would be no marigolds, no dahlias, no zinnias.
Wow.
There would be no turkey at Christmas or any other time. There would be no guinea pigs for the kids' pets.
Yeah.
There would be no wool from alpaca or llama. And then there's other stuff. There'd be no annatto, which is a red food coloring that is the coloring added to cheese to make it not pasty white, but nicely orange.
Okay.
There would be no cochineal, another red dye. There would be no cashews, no Brazil nuts, no cassava, which makes starch and tapioca. And for those who are into that sort of new food, there would be no quinoa and no chia. There wouldn't be any rubber.
Wow.
Now think of the world without rubber.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cow tire.
Yeah, cow tire. Yeah, that's right.
And the really big one, tobacco.
Yeah, yeah.
And some people might throw their hands in the air in horror and say, well, if there's no tobacco, that would be a good thing. But think of it another way. The billions of dollars that government around the world has gained from tobacco tax. And all the sponsorship of various sports and cultural things that the tobacco companies have sponsored in the past.
Then once they at some point, I'm not being the devil's advocate here, but at some point the tobacco industry cost society quite a bit because of health costs and that sort of thing down the line. But that's neither here nor there. It was a huge business. The Virginia tobacco plantations and whatnot, sending their tobacco to Europe.
And those and the tobacco industry on out in Benvolin.
Yes. People don't know that. A lot of people don't know that we had a huge tobacco industry here. Dad smoked some of that stuff, and he said, boy, oh boy, it was pretty powerful. Yeah. And when he smoked it, he must have been a teenager because he was born in 1910, and I think that tobacco industry kind of phased out in about 1928, 29, something like that.
Yes, it failed for a number of mostly administrative problems.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and of course shipping and that sort of thing, and the big tobacco was back east, and they didn't like the competition coming from the Okanagan, I don't think.
No, they did not.
No.
Anyway, right here, right now, everybody is planting and growing and looking after their tomato plants. That is a Mexican creation.
Okay.
And the Aztec horticulturalists referred to tomato. Tomato was the word indicated something round that you ate. And the Aztec language is rather like German in that you add parts of words to other words to create the thing you mean. So the Spanish simply reduced the thing to tomato. And today, now, of course, we think of the large, bright red fruit. But the Aztec actually started out with what we call tomatillos, which is a different botanical genus. That's Physalis, as opposed to Lycopersicon, which is the tomato. And the tomato industry worldwide is huge. There are hundreds of varieties developed all over the world. Strange ones like black crim. And I don't know if you've grown those. Have you, Don?
I haven't. I have grown some heritage, what they call heritage tomatoes, and it's fascinating the amount of variety there is out there in that group. Now, Dan, before we have to leave here, tell the story that the fact that for many years Europeans thought that the tomato was poisonous.
Oh, the tomato took a long time to get established on the tables of Europe because it is a solanaceous plant with a red berry, the same family as deadly nightshade.
Right. And that's where they connected the two, right?
Oh, yes, they did, and with some reason. And of course, there's the argument about whether it's a fruit or a vegetable. Somebody once, I've heard it said that the difference between knowledge and wisdom is that knowledge is the awareness that a tomato is a fruit. Wisdom is not including it in a fruit salad.
Yeah, there you go. That's a good one. But look at Dan. I heard too. This was all coming up a few years ago when we were debating this. Somebody said it's a berry.
Well,
berries are fruit.
Berries are fruit.
Yeah, that's true.
Anyway, when you stop and think about this, I mean, you have a fresh tomato in your hand, but when you consider the worldwide industry, tomato paste and tomato sauce and
ketchup,
sun-dried tomatoes, and all these other products that are directly derived from it. So, did those people in the tropical lowlands of Mexico that began to cultivate these things ever imagine that this would happen? No, they didn't, and they didn't care.
Yeah, probably not.
Nope.
But we certainly care, because without tomatoes, there would be huge gaps in the grocery stores shelves.
For sure. Dan, we're going to have to break now. I'll tell you, that was very interesting. And we'll carry on with a little bit more on the indigenous contribution to horticulture and our food sources, I assume, next week.
We will. We will pick another 2 or 3 things.
Yeah, right on.
Nice.
Well, thanks, buddy.
All right.
Appreciate the call.
Yeah, thanks for calling in, Dan.
Okay.
Take care.
See ya.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, that was very interesting. And the tomato,
sure.
I'm a big tomato fan. Some people don't like tomatoes. They don't use tomatoes, but it
It's hard
more
to have
often
a
than
pizza
not.
without tomato sauce.
Yeah, I mean, Donna could not exist without her ketchup.
Oh,
She could not. She could not exist.
Tomato is a key ingredient in a lot of things.
Hey, good for the prostate too. Did you know that?
It's
Good for the prostate. Okay, we're going to take a short break here because that's what we do at this point in time. We will come back with more AM 1150 Garden Show. You betcha. We're back with you, and we want to welcome Dennis to the show. Good morning, Dennis.
Good morning, guys. I was interested in what you were talking about before about putting compost on your garden. Early this year, I put 2 yards of Glengrow on my yard, spread it all out with a rake. But unfortunately, we had a major flood, and the garden went on the back burner, and I didn't dig it in before I planted. And my vegetable garden is an unmitigated disaster this year. I got beets with greenery on, about 2 foot tall, and when I pull them up, I've got a little pencil inside, no beetroots. My peppers are doing nothing. They're sitting there doing nothing. My tomatoes are sitting there doing nothing. My corn's not doing anything. And I've got foliage like trees on my potatoes. It looks terrible, and I just don't know what's going on.
Yeah, you've got a very high nitrogen level in the soil. Obviously, the tops are doing well, but the fruit part hasn't kicked in yet. So I think it's just going to be waiting it out, I guess, and see once the nitrogen kind of depletes a bit, then the other nutrients will take over and start to produce those roots and stems and seeds and fruits.
Dennis, I'm interested to know what flood. You must talk about a regional flood or a domestic flood in your garden.
I had a washing machine accident in the house, and we flooded the basement.
I just thought
it's not quite finished yet. Hopefully, it'll be finished next week.
Okay, because we've had no rain this spring. I thought, how's Dennis having a flood?
No, it was a hose on a washing machine.
Yeah, one of those. Yeah. Oh. Well, that's not good. Well, and you're figuring because you didn't dig it in. Is that what you're figuring is the problem?
I'm thinking maybe it's just too. I mean, I did 4 rows of carrots, 2 different varieties. 2 rows didn't come up at all, and the other 2 came up. And I thinned them out the other day, but there's not much of a carrot down there, but it's got foliage. And the others died, so I raked all the area up, put the same ones back in, and they're about half an inch tall here and there. They're not growing properly either.
Well, the interesting thing, we were talking about how one year the garden does this, and next year does that, and so things change. And the only change you've done is you put that Glengrow on.
Yeah,
now,
that's the first time I've ever done it. And I did about 2 years. I've got about a 60, 70-foot pot, about 600 square feet, and I put 2 yards on it.
Yeah, so you've got about 4-inch cover. Yeah, digging it in would, spading it in would be a good advice, Dennis, I think. And I know you haven't been able to do that because of the flood, but I would go around and hoe it in a bit.
Yeah, and time uses up the nitrogen. It won't last forever, and it's just that product is very high in nitrogen. It does produce a lot of feed for the plants, really, pretty much right away. So yeah, that's going to happen. But now, my carrots are beautiful and lush and lovely, and they just have those strings for roots right now. But I know they'll size up once we get into the end of July. They should be looking pretty good.
Well, the fact that I've got no beetroot at all down below, I've never had beetroot green so tall and nothing underneath.
Yeah, well, it sounds like you've got too much nitrogen.
What about the potatoes? Because I've never had foliage so tall on potatoes in my life.
Sounds like a nitrogen thing, Dennis. We're going to have to break. We got a couple of callers to get in before the break, but we always love to hear from you. And Ken and I are going to think about your issue, and maybe we can even give.
So you think that if I leave them long enough, some of them will grow again?
Oh yeah.
As long as very much, guys.
Yeah, but stir in some of that Glengrow.
Okay. Thanks again.
Okay, buddy.
Good luck.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
We got to quickly because we've got 2 more callers, and it's going to be tight to get them in. But we've got Anna on line 2. Good morning, Anna.
Hi. Yeah, I'm trying to get rid of weeds without pesticides or whatever. Do you have a formula that I've heard of something including vinegar or something?
What, Anna? Where are your weeds? But where are they in the garden? Are they mixed in with a bunch of other stuff, or is it an area you want to clean up, or what?
It's an area I want to clean up more or less.
If there's a big area you want to clean up, this is ideal weather right now with this hot sun. Is to get some clear poly. And put that clear poly over top of that area and pin it down on the outsides, and it'll bake those weeds.
Oh, okay.
It'll bake them. It's a good way to clean up an area. Now you can't do that in your perennial bed, but
right, yeah. So what about the other areas where it's more delicate?
It depends on the weeds you have. Some of them are quite manageable without any use of any chemicals. Others take a little bit more due diligence. But in general, if you take the tops, if you stop a plant, whether it's bindweed or mare's tail or quackgrass, if you just continually stop the tops from growing, like hoeing,
okay,
lots of hoeing, lots of elbow grease, the plant will slowly decline because it can't feed itself.
It can't,
But once you let the green happen, then it's feeding itself and you're done.
Yeah.
That's about all you can do if you're not. And vinegar is one of those things that will burn the tops off a lot of the weeds. It doesn't translocate and kill the roots on deep-rooted perennials, but yeah.
Yeah, and there's some formulas that you'll see that include potassium chloride mixed with the vinegar. And that's a little bit stronger product, but
is that available on the market, Ken?
I think it's something you have to make. So I don't have any formulas or anything for that, but there are those things available.
But hopefully that's been of some help to you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, Anna. We appreciate your call.
Good luck.
Okay,
bye bye.
And we got one last caller before the break, and that is Maxine. How are you, Maxine?
Hi, Don. Thanks. I know that you're on a time limit, so I'll tell you what my concern is. I have a planter, a nice planter pot, and I was sitting there empty, so I thought I'd go and put some lettuce and some arugula. And it was suggested to me to just put a pepper plant in the center of this big pot. So I did, and everything's doing well, and there's little peppers coming out. It's amazing, but they're brown. Some of them have got, like, brown marks on them, even the little ones that are coming, just starting.
Might be the variety. I mean, the brown pigment. It's not sunken and that way, is it? It might be.
It's not mushy.
It's not a mushy.
It's not mushy.
No,
it's not mushy. It's just like there's a brown scale on it.
Oh, scale
on the little peppers.
Maxine, I need to see this. Ken and I both need to see this if possible.
Oh, good. I'll take a photo.
Take a photo. So you can email it to us because we're here at Dawn@thegardenexpert.com, and we will look at it and see what we can do for you.
Okay, I'm on my way to work, so I'll do it a little later if that's okay.
Okay, dear.
Anytime.
Thanks a lot, you guys.
Okay,
Bye.
take care.
Thanks for calling. Bye-bye.
I've seen peppers actually start developing a little brown, and they're actually pigment brown, but that's the type of pepper it is.
Yeah, exactly. There's certain types of peppers do that. Even the regular green peppers will get a little brown from.
We're going to have a quick conversation with Sharon. Thanks for calling in, Sharon.
Hi, good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
What I'm calling about is we had a large hibiscus bush in our backyard, and over the winter, it's died.
Yep.
And
I've seen a few of them.
So I'm calling to see what might have caused that.
Well, there's no rhyme nor reason. Now, Ken's probably going to come up with the answer, but in my travels around, it doesn't seem like there's any rhyme nor reason because I've got a client that has a beautiful hibiscus on one side of the house, same exposure on the other side, and it's stone cold dead. Then I have another client that has a beautiful hibiscus here, and the other hibiscus, half of it's dead. So, Ken, what's the deal? What's going on?
And I've had one that's died slowly over 2 or 3 years, and I've got two side by side, like literally 10 feet apart.
Yep.
And the one is perfectly healthy, no problem at all. The other one, last year, it had about a third of it die off over last winter. No, this was 2 winters ago. And last winter, it died in half, so I lost half of it. And then this winter, the rest of it is dead.
This is not helping Sharon,
no,
because Sharon wants the answer.
Yeah, it's a disease organism,
it's a good
unfortunately.
size, and it even last summer it bloomed. It was just beautiful. It was loaded with flowers, and so this spring we kept waiting and waiting for it to bud out, and finally we've come to the conclusion it's completely dead, and we just don't know what might have caused it. Like, is there something?
No, it's a disease.
I mean, it wasn't that cold of a winter, and I don't know.
It's not the cold on this particular one. It's a disease organism, and it's going to take a little bit more research. I know when mine was dying, I searched to see, there actually was, and I recall reading about it, a specific fungal disease that affects the plant, but there really wasn't anything that could be done about it. And it's unfortunate they just get into some plants and don't get into others.
Yep.
And
seems
once
to
it
be
starts,
happening. It seems to be happening a little bit more often now. Maybe it's something that's spreading around. I don't know.
I think it's those weather snaps we're getting. You know, weird early cold in the fall and then late cold in the spring. Yeah.
Sharon, we're going to have to take that big break at 9 o'clock here.
Okay, well.
Ken and I will keep thinking about this, but I mean, it's not something unusual. It's happening quite a bit this year.
Yeah.
So sometimes the common denominator being that those immediate 20 below weather after a long, warm winter, or vice versa, that fall snap before things really wanted to go to sleep in the fall.
And what that does, it causes injury to some of the wood, so it causes a wound. And that's where the disease
That's where the pathogen comes in.
So some of them get damaged, some of them may not get damaged. It's just sort of a random thing.
Sharon, sorry we couldn't totally help you there, but we're going to have to move on.
Okay, well, thank you very much, gentlemen.
Yeah.
Have a good day. Enjoy the rest of the weekend.
Thank you dear, so much.
Thanks.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
We're going to take that break now. It's 9 o'clock. We're going to take a break. We invite your calls when we come back, 250-862-2525 to get through to us. And we will be back with more AM 1150 Garden Show. Well, here we go. We've got a caller waiting online, but we also have a question. Joan is wondering if we can answer on air about how to successfully grow morning glories in pots. Watering, size of pot, growing tips, etc. Morning glory is a heat lover, isn't it, Ken?
Yeah, the vine. Mm-hmm. It's a vine. So you would normally, put it with a trellis. It's got to be in full sun, ideally. Mm-hmm. Because I know in areas where it's in low light, it doesn't bloom. It's delayed bloom. Mm-hmm. It takes a long, long time, right into September sometimes. So sunnier locations, they'll often be blooming by early August, but they get quite tall. They can get up to about 8 feet pretty quickly. So size of pot, I would say, is you'd need to have a pot at least about maybe 20 inches in diameter. Mm-hmm. And then be able to put a trellis in it or place it against a wall with a trellis attached to the wall. And then just let her rip.
Well drained.
Yeah,
and
well
good potting soil.
Good potting soil. And feeding, it just helps, but they will go 8 or 10 feet if you start feeding them, too.
There's one called Heavenly Blue that my buddy Charlie Faulkner used to grow.
It's a beauty.
Huge blue blossom. Gorgeous thing.
Yeah, I love them. They're a really nice plant,
Well, hopefully that's been of help, Joan. And if not, you can give us a call again if you have any other questions. We've got Matt. Good morning, Matt.
Good morning, Matt. Are you there?
Hey, guys. Sorry about that. I'm here now.
Okay.
Thanks for taking the call.
Yeah, we're here, too.
Excellent. I have a question. I've got I got about 30 feet of cedar hedges in my backyard that are ugly, and I'm going to rip them out. However, I got 2 neighboring dogs that are kind of insane, and I'd like to keep them out. A fence is a great idea if lumber wasn't thousands of dollars to build a fence. So I was hoping there might be a broadleafed evergreen you could suggest. I've Googled that there is a winter rhododendron that's good in from zones 4 to 9, but I don't know if that's true.
That may not be your best bet, not because of the cold we have here, but because of our alkaline soil. The rhodies don't do quite as well here because they need an acidic soil.
They have very brittle wood as well. So
and the brittle,
crazy dogs will just jump right through it. And so you need something that they're not going to come through, like...
the one I'm thinking of, Ken, and we were just looking at it the other day because you and Wendy came by, and it was such a nice visit we had. I've got a Lorocerassus rainvanii. It's a rainvanii hardy laurel. And this baby would make a darn good hedge. You could plant them 3 feet apart, and they would fill right in. They're very prunable. I could send you a picture.
You'd even go closer if you wanted.
If you email me, or I could, even if you come by and have a look at mine and make a decision on your own. But I'll tell you this. They're not the easiest thing to find. I'm going to try and root some. Ken was pointing out that rooting in August is really a good plan for this particular plant. So I'm going to root a bunch because it's such a successful plant for me. It's never frozen back.
And
it's never
they're available at the coast. There's lots of them.
Oh, they grow lots of them at the coast. Yeah. But you got to make sure it's rainvanii.
Well, that's the one that they do grow them in the wholesale nurseries, and they're becoming very popular. And I think it's because they are. I'm not sure. I don't know how many people are try them here, right? Because they think of it as a coastal plant. But this is like a species of these plants are quite large leafed, and that is grown in like Russian areas where it's quite cold, and so they grow here quite easily, and they're quite nice, and yet it's a broadleaf evergreen. There is another one as well, which is a little bit less friendly, which is the pyracantha, and pyracantha has thorns that are a little bit wild, so nothing comes through pyracantha no matter what.
Okay. Well, I have a 6 and an 8-year-old, so I wouldn't want them falling on that either. But
now,
the laurel's a great idea.
One thought, and to me it's not an issue, but it is a fact, that technically laurel is of the cherry family. It's a prunus, and all prunus, the stems and leaves are toxic. Now, I don't know how much you have to eat and whatever, and the fact that when I heard that, I thought, oh boy, should I be recommending this? I phoned my compatriots down in Vancouver, various garden centers in Maple Ridge and out in Abbotsford and whatnot. They said for 40 years they've been selling these things, and they've never had an incident of poisoning. So but I have to bring that up because it is a fact. If you look up, are laurels poisonous, they will say yes on the internet. Okay?
That's great. Thank you, guys.
Okay, you're very welcome. Thanks for the call.
Right. Good luck.
Yep. Bye-bye now. And we have Wade joining us. Good morning, Wade. Just wade on in.
Gentlemen.
Wade on in.
Good morning, gentlemen. I've got one single apple tree on my property. Anyway, I just noticed that in only 2 or 3 little confined areas, some of the leaves are curling up slightly, but more importantly, the leaves have just been chewed down to basically nubs. I know a lot of the sprays have been eliminated. Is there still something available that is worthwhile?
Yeah, well, this is probably a leaf roller caterpillar because the leaf rollers are in super high populations this year for some reason, so they're on an upswing. They're getting on all types of plants, but they really like apple trees for sure. And they will curl and roll up the leaf. If you carefully unroll a leaf, they might have a little bit of webbing in there, and you might see a little green caterpillar drop out. They stay hidden in the leaf through the daytime, and then at night they crawl out and they'll eat other leaves on the branches, and then they go back into their little nest in the day to protect them from birds. And they are controllable with an organic spray called BT, which is it's just the 2 letters BT. That's the best way to find it, and that should be available at pretty much all garden centers. So it just needs to be applied in the evenings, so because they do come out at night. And it has really, it doesn't have a long residual effect, but they just have to eat it. They have to eat it once, and that's it. They're done. So it works.
Thanks very much. I'll give it a shot.
Yeah, and you want to do that, a little bit earlier, the moment you see some damage happening, because once the leaf is rolled up, sometimes that BT doesn't get inside the leaf and whatnot. But if they're early morning is the best time. Follow the directions on that spray, that BTK.
Will do.
Okay.
Great.
Thanks, Matt.
Thanks for calling. Bye-bye.
We are now still going to the phone lines here, and we have, who have we got? Sandy is on the line. Good morning, Sandy.
Good morning. Happy Father's Day.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So I've got your recipe for your weed killer.
Oh,
here we
okay.
go.
So I've been trying to eradicate that invasive blueweed off the property. So.
Great.
So you take a quart of white vinegar and warm it, dissolve a cup of Epsom salts in it, and when it's cold, put a tablespoon of dish soap in it, and that seems to work.
And away you go.
Boy, yeah.
It makes them go right brown, crispy, right to the ground.
Well, that's good. Now, you don't want to put that on your French fries, though.
No, don't think so.
No.
Not unless you've been swearing, and then you get the soap in the mouth.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds good. And, of course, the soap
and it's
is your...
non-toxic to critters and
kids
and all that. But don't put it anywhere near something you want to have alive.
Yeah, soap is the surfactant that really spreads it out and makes it work better. And, and the vinegar and then the
Epsom salts.
Epsom salts.
Epsom salts are actually really good in the Okanagan gardens. It helps improve the soil.
Seems to work good.
Yeah,
I also have a question. I have 2 pots of calla lilies. One is growing nicely upright. the other one is all falling down. I've got them in like little cages, and the one that's falling down is just leaning over the cage, and it looks like it's on its way out.
I have one just like that.
Why is it doing that so early?
That's a good question. I'm not really sure what's causing this one. I know that we had it in a greenhouse for a while, and the greenhouse conditions seemed to cause it to push up really quickly. And
That's what mine did.
Yeah, and it pushed up almost too fast, and then being in a container, it didn't really like that too much, and it kind of started to flop. And so, I think that in this case, they're probably better in the ground, and probably getting them out earlier before they start to stretch too much, because that was what our problem was. It was just too hot in the greenhouse, and then they stretched.
Yeah, because every year I just put them under the bench in the greenhouse, and then when they start going, then but it seemed to start going quite early this year, so that by the time I had to was able to put them out, they're tall.
Yeah, it was
they're
warmer than
probably
average.
2.5 feet or more with huge leaves.
Wow. Yeah, it's early this year. Just because we had all that really beautiful weather, it was nice and sunny and relatively mild through March, and definitely not much rain, that's for sure. And so, yeah, things were getting an early start. But that was my feeling, was that I actually had two of them, and one of them is slightly better than the other one. But the one is definitely doing exactly what you're saying. It seems healthy and everything. It's just flopping.
Yeah, it's green and nice, but should I just kind of quit watering it and let it go down for the year now?
No, I'm just gonna keep mine going. I'm gonna keep it staked up. I'm gonna force it to look good. So I'm gonna put a tomato cage on it or something and say.
Yeah, I've got the peony rings on them, and
that
works pretty nicely. And I've got it kind of hiding in my rose bushes so it doesn't look so bad.
Do you grow yours in full sun?
Yeah, in big pots.
Yeah, they're generally best in full sun for sure. So, nice plant.
It is.
Yeah.
Anyhow, I thought maybe there was some reason that they decided it was about to go dormant.
No,
not at this time. I think I'd do what Ken's doing: stake it up and just see what happens.
Yeah, force it to behave.
Yep. Okay, Sandy.
Thank you.
Thank you, dear. Thanks for the call.
Bye-bye.
We're at the quarter of the hour here. We're going to have to take a short break. We do have coming up, Phil is waiting online. Stay tuned, Phil, because you're on when we come back with more AM 1150 Garden Show. We're back, and what we have now is Phil. Good morning, Phil.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Hey.
Good morning.
Yes. I have some roses here that I wasn't paying too close attention there, but they weren't coming out very well at all. And then I took some of them apart there, and some of them had a little black thing in there. I don't know if it'd be what you'd call it, a weevil or something. Mm-hmm. And on the other ones there, they had little worms in them.
Yeah.
And so the roses weren't opening up.
Well, there could be rose curculio, which is a little weevil. It could be some leaf roller, too. Leaf roller. I've seen leaf roller on rose
they're
buds.
just they're bigger.
Oh, they're bigger?
Well, the curculio is only about
tiny.
It's just a tiny little thing, but they eat holes in the sides of the buds, and then they lay their eggs in there sometimes. You get the little white grubs. But if it's a green caterpillar, you know it's a leaf roller, and they're getting on everything this year. But
they're all over the place, these leaf rollers.
What do you think, Phil? Is it a little white guy or is it a little green guy?
Well, yeah, some of them were green and some of them were. I thought they were. If I remember it, they were brown.
Yeah.
Well, I've seen some brown leaf rollers.
Just little worms there, but they sure kept the roses from opening up there.
Right. Well, Phil, when you've got caterpillars of any kind, whether they're leaf rollers, whether they're tomato hornworms, whether they're, all the different types of caterpillars out there, the best thing for you to do is to spray with BTK early in the morning.
With what?
BTK.
Oh, yes.
It's Thuricide is one of the common names for it, but BTK.
It'd be be too late now to catch them there now.
If you've got active eating caterpillars, it's not too late.
Yeah, but it won't have effect on the weevil.
Yeah, but they're all inside the roses. They're all encased in that there. So how would that get to them?
Well, as I was just saying for the last caller, it's usually with species like leaf rollers, they stay hidden all day. At night, they come out and feed, and that's where they exit their little nest and they move around the tree, and then they eat leaves. So I'm not sure about this one. It sounds like if it's in a rosebud, I don't know. It doesn't sound like a leaf roller to me. But if you spray the entire plant, any caterpillar that eats the leaves at night will die. And so that's the general rule with BT and caterpillars. But if it is a weevil, it's a different ball of wax.
I probably wasn't looking that close there. I didn't notice any damage on the leaves. It was
just the buds.
The rose.
I think you can have a closer look and maybe check back with us maybe next week and see what's going on with that.
Oh yes, and this year quite a few seeds didn't seem to germinate. Beans and other things there. It seems like they're coming pretty slow. And then I have an apricot tree. It's probably a good 5 years old there now, and I haven't seen a blossom on it yet there. The tree is looking very healthy and everything, but how old does the tree get before they have blossoms on them?
Well, those apricots should be blooming right out of the gate, for sure.
Yeah, they're past their bloom now. They should either they should have fruit on them now. Bloom happened way back in April.
Yeah, but didn't get any bloom.
Okay, well, they are intermittent. Apricots, Phil, will sometimes take a year off. It just, I don't know, I've never figured out why, but that'll happen with apricots, it seems.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
But yeah, have a look at those roses and see if you're seeing the leaves are all sort of bound up by webbing, or if they're just if there's just like a hole drilled in the side of the bud. That will tell us a total tale for sure.
Yep.
Okay,
buddy.
Because of apricot tree is not too far from fir trees, would that have any effect on that?
No.
Because it gets lots of sun.
Well, as long as it's getting sun and it's not really in direct competition with the fir trees. Sometimes when the root masses are getting close together, there might be a little competition issue there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I just thought I'd bring this onto the show.
Oh, I appreciate it, Phil. We're going to have to move on. We've got another couple of callers. We appreciate your call.
Okay,
thanks,
you.
buddy.
Thanks,
okay.
Phil. See ya. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now. And, and so Bev is wondering if you can answer on air how she might be able to get rid of slugs in her community garden, and heard that using coffee grounds may work. You know, slugs, there are some very, slug baits that are very safe to use. The safer slug bait has iron in it, and that's all it is iron, and they eat that and they die. So that would be my recommendation. You could try the coffee grounds, but I think that the iron, and if you can get out there in the evening when they're active, you pick slugs. They're easy to pick. You can, and, if you want to, you can put them on a skewer, and they're probably tasty like escargot,
You never know.
Maybe not, but
maybe not.
But you can pick them, and you can squash them, squish them, flush them,
flick them,
flick
them over the fence,
burial at sea. But anyway, or dig a hole and put them down there, and they won't come out.
The little trays of beer, apparently, they're quite the teetotalers. They're slugs. Yeah. So yeah.
That's what we're answer to Bev. We appreciate your question. Now we've got Linda on line 2. Good morning, Linda.
Good morning.
Hello, Linda.
Good morning. A couple quick questions, guys. In regards to my snow peas, a wonderful crop of snow peas. Unfortunately, some of them are quite thick and look more like a pea. Do you know what's going on there? They're quite fibrous. You can't eat them.
Yes. I have the exact same thing, and what it is it's a mixture of pea varieties in the same package.
Oh,
and I'm not sure if that is a pollination issue on the grower side or if it's just something got mixed up.
Okay.
Because mine, I have the exact same thing. I have snow peas. I've got them growing in 2 different locations, and they're coming up, and they're predominantly snow peas, but I'm getting some of the little... it just seems like there's mixed species. I've got some of the hard-shelled ones that you have to crack and open, and I've got some that are the flat frying ones that you use for so it's just a mixture. It's
okay, mystery solved.
Frustrating, though. What I would say is that I would switch companies, and that's what I'm going to do, is to switch companies next year. Get a different brand.
And then another quick question. I talked to you quite a while ago, Ken, in regards to my orchid. It's kind of growing horizontally. I don't know if you recall that or not. It's got about 30 leaves on it, and I was waiting for it for the blossoms to fall, and then I was going to transplant it.
Right.
And then in the meantime, I forgot what you said about transplanting it. And my question is, it's in a 6-inch pot. How big can I go? And I think you said something about putting sand in the bottom.
Well, I think what you do with any orchids, because they're so top heavy, you have to add some weight to the equation. So some people will just put rocks or gravel or sand. Sand is even a bit fine for them.
Oh, okay.
Just because if it's a phalaenopsis orchid, is that what it is? Like a moth orchid?
Yes, it is. Yes.
Yeah. So then, like you say, they hang from trees. That's why their leaves are very horizontal.
Yeah.
And so we want to have them as if they're clinging onto bark. So that's why we often buy that orchid bark when we transplant. We can put some rocks in the bottom to give it some weight.
Yeah.
And and that's about it. But size of the pot, I would go likely, like if it's in a 6-inch pot and it's really overgrown, you don't have to go too big, but I would say either an 8-inch would be satisfactory.
Okay.
You could try a 10-inch. If you go to a little bit bigger one, you can put more rocks in. It'll be more stable. You might have to actually, like I've had a plant transplanted and then it fell out of the pot after I transplanted it. It was so top heavy. It was like, the pot was really anchored to the ground because it was so heavy, but the plant just fell out. So I actually put a little wire around it. Just over the top. It went right around the pot, or I poked a few holes in the side or something so I could wire it into the pot. So it couldn't leave its home until it was well rooted. So that was helpful. Yeah.
Now the question I was going to ask is, I forgot what I was going to ask. It's okay.
Gee.
Well, thanks for that. I was going to ask about the pot. Should it have, be an orchid pot with the holes in it, or did you put it into a solid, ceramic pot, no drainage?
Well, I think that the ceramic pots are a good choice, but with drainage, so it'd have a drain hole in it. You can, because they're so heavy, right? So it's a weight thing. You can actually buy ceramic pots that have holes in the side, and they're orchid pots.
Oh,
and
really?
They have actually holes in the sides of them, and they're quite decorative, and they're nice, and you just plant your orchid in it with the bark and whatnot, and pot's nice and heavy, but yet it allows air transfer through the sides.
Okay, I was not aware that they had ceramic pots for orchids. That's great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Some decorative, some just straight clay.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Well, thanks so much.
I think Byland's have a nice selection. I was out there the other day.
Oh, all right. Great.
Okay.
Thanks so much, guys.
Okay. Betcha. Take care.
Thanks for calling.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now. Now, we're going to have to take a break. We've got Addie and Val waiting online, and we welcome you. Please be patient, because we will be back to answer your questions when we come back with more AM 1150 Garden Show. Yeah, we're back, and glad to be here. Lots of action today on the Garden Show, and we appreciate the calls very, very much, and we try and get everybody in. Linda is, Addie is on line 3. Good morning, Addie. Nice to have you here.
Good morning. Good morning, guys. I've got so many problems in my garden that I need my own 15 minutes every Saturday morning.
Well, we appreciate it.
Okay. And my Christmas cactus is blooming, but the marmot is eating all my plants, my kale, my lettuce, my flowers, everything. So that's a big thing. But my friend gave me a succulent. One of the leaves fell off of it, and I just sort of left it in the pot, and it grew little white roots on it. Should I just plant that leaf?
Sure, yeah, you bet. Might as well.
I mean,
those are air roots, but they will form into they'll root into the soil.
And then what is it going to like? Is it going to grow? Because this is a funny looking succulent. It looks like a big, huge rose, and then it sends out a great big stem with another little rose on the top of it.
Yep, echeveria probably, some type of echeveria.
Yeah, there was no name on it. It just said succulent.
Yep.
So, but I can plant that. Okay. My other question is grapes. I planted grapes 1 2 years ago and one last year up against the house. Mm-hmm. They're not doing so well. Am I watering them too much? Am I watering too little? Are they not getting enough air? What is the problem?
By not doing so well, what are they not doing and what are they doing?
They're not growing.
They're just sitting there? Have you got leaves on them?
I've got a few leaves, but very slowly. My neighbor next door has hers on an arbor, and hers are 100 times bigger than mine, and she planted hers this spring.
Well, feel down and see if you're getting adequate moisture, because you want to give them lots of moisture, especially when they're young. Once they get older, they can be a little bit more self-sufficient because they'll stretch out and get moisture. But when they're young, they need adequate moisture there. So check that out. And then, Addie, look at your food feeding. Maybe if there's adequate moisture there and they're still stunted and sitting there, give them some triple 20 or something like that. See if you can kick them into gear.
Okay, so it's got nothing to do with them being planted against the house.
No.
It's not against the house. It's against the deck.
No, shouldn't be any problem there. And they're in a sunny spot?
Oh, yeah, they get sun all day, from morning till night.
Do they have is it free draining soil though? There's one thing that grapes like is sort of sandy, gravelly, sandy.
It is, and I did search, or I did go down for the soil. It dug down and dug about 3 good inches, and it's wet down there, so it couldn't be lack of moisture. I don't know. Maybe I'll give it. I've never fertilized them, so I'm going to give it some 20.
It might be poor drainage, as Ken was saying. They want drainage.
Okay, maybe I'll look at that.
They might be stifled that way. No oxygen in the roots.
My other question is, somebody told me to put old coffee grounds on roses. What does that do?
I'm not sure what coffee grounds. I've heard over the years that coffee grounds help acidify the soil. I've heard like the previous caller was saying about the slugs might be a good deterrent to slugs. They're organic. They're coffee beans ground up, so composted coffee beans would be probably just fine for the garden. But I don't know what they do. Do you, Ken?
No, I think that was always exactly what I thought, was that they were acidifying, and it seemed like because they're sort of loose yet they stick together, that's why the slugs won't cross over them.
Yeah. I haven't seen any studies on
them.
Yeah. So actually they would just be good for the soil, period, not just for roses.
Yeah, well, good for the soil, probably, just like any organic matter you put in there. But I haven't seen any studies, proper scientific studies on what they actually do. It's always somebody saying, well, it acidifies the soil, or it opens the soil up, or it does this. I haven't seen any studies on it.
Okay, my last question is, my trumpet vine and my clematis have shot out like you wouldn't believe it, but there aren't any sign of buds on them.
Well, trumpet vine won't be blooming till August, late July.
Okay, but the clematis last year, I had thousands of flowers on it, not only hundreds. It was just a massive purple.
Okay.
This
a
year,
massive purple?
I don't even see any of the little guys.
Well, you might want to just be patient with the clematis. It might come on. I don't have an answer for you there, but in clematis, there's a lot to do with the pruning. Some want to be pruned down heavy, like Jack Manny and the Category 3 types, and then some don't want to be pruned at all. So,
oh no, this one I pruned down to within about 4 inches off the ground.
Okay,
it does want to get pruned.
And it's come up and done. It's come up and give you some nice foliage this year.
Great foliage.
It'll bloom.
Totally covered the window.
It'll bloom.
It will, eh?
Yeah, it'll bloom for you. I'm pretty sure it can.
I've been giving it.
Ken's not guaranteeing it, but I am.
What did he say?
I said Ken's not guaranteeing it's going to bloom, but I am.
Okay, so we'll flip a coin on that.
We're gonna flip
One of you guys I'm going to hold accountable for this answer. I've been giving it 15, 30, 15, but a better fertilizer for it?
Just that should be fine and dandy, Addie. Yep.
Yeah.
So when you say you put compost on your garden, like what do you use for compost on the garden, on the entire garden?
Compost. There's some commercial composts out there like Glen Grow or Ogo Grow or Nature's Gold or that sort of thing. Then there's also composted seaweed. There's composted right from the garden compost, sea soil, that sort of thing.
Sea soil is really nice. And also the Black Diamond Peat is classified because it is actually comes out of the earth, but it's a beautiful, rich black compost, and man, that stuff goes. Some weeds in it, but hey, I live with the weeds because there's always going to be weeds.
I don't think they're bad weeds. I mean,
So you're saying black diamond peat?
Yeah, and that's sold. I'm pretty sure it's sold at the. I think Byland's.
Yeah, Byland's still have it. I think in the bulk or in the bag.
I'm still waiting for my Miss Kim dwarf lilac, which seems to be something that I guess COVID has taken away from us. We can't get it anywhere in the city.
Well, they're very popular. They're a good lilac. They're a good bloomer and very fragrant. So, yeah.
Well, they bloom twice a year. That's what they don't grow like crazy like the other ones do. So, however, thank you very much, guys.
Yep, you betcha, Addie. I always appreciate your call. Take care, girl. Okay.
Happy Father's Day.
Thank you, Addie. Appreciate that.
Addie. Take care.
You're welcome.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, she mentioned blooming again. It's the bloomerang that does that, and I've got a bloomerang. I'm quite. I like it. It's a good little lilac.
They get it a lot bigger than I always thought they would. That was the thing with bloomerang, but it certainly is a beautiful plant and blooms in the spring, blooms in the fall.
You betcha. We're welcoming Val to the show. Good morning, Val. Thank you for waiting and your patience.
Yeah, hi. I planted a tomato plant a month or so ago, and it's not grown at all. It's about a foot high. And also there's two leaves that were yellow, so I snipped them off, and I don't know why they turned yellow. And will others turn yellow too?
So you say a month ago. So
about
that was
a month ago, yeah.
May 20th or something like that, May 15th.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, well, and it's just sitting there.
Just sitting there,
And have you planted tomatoes and other things in that ground before?
Yeah.
And they've been fine?
Yeah. Last year I had a tomato plant that just produced a lot.
And you're feeding it?
Well, I'm watering it.
Yeah, so when the bottom leaves drop, that sometimes is a sign of nutrient deficiency, where it's a little bit hungry.
You mean turning yellow?
Yeah, if the bottom leaves turn yellow and drop, it means usually it's a nitrogen deficiency. So they might, tomato plants are pretty heavy feeders. They like to be fed a couple times a week. Is
the foliage dark green or is it kind of pale?
It's they're dark green, I guess. They're I guess they're dark green.
Yeah. Because pale would be a sign as well of nitrogen deficiency. But just try.
And like I said, last year I had an abundance of tomatoes. I was giving them away.
Well, it might be the plant too. Who knows? You just got one plant?
Yeah, a beefsteak tomato.
Val, you might. Have you got room to plant another one? I would suggest going to the garden center, get yourself a nice healthy plant that's established in a pot, and plant it right beside the one you have, and then just see if that one doesn't take off, because it might be in the plant. The plant might be having some issues or something. Okay.
Yeah, thanks.
You're very welcome, Val. Thanks for the call.
Yeah,
good luck. Yeah, that's where the fresh compost really pays off every year. Nice, rich soil. Tomato plants are heavy feeders. When we used to grow them commercially, we had to feed them every day, and sometimes twice a day. So they had constant. I used to have them on a program where I'd feed them in the morning, and then I'd feed them in the afternoon, and then at the end of the day, I'd just give them straight water. So they got 3 waterings a day.
Did they ever get dessert, or just 2 meals?
Sometimes
2 meals a day, no dessert?
I got the dessert. Man, those were the best tomatoes I've ever grown.
We're going to have to take a break here because we got a caller coming in here, but we're going to take a short break before we do take that caller. We'll be back with more AM 1150 Garden. Right on. We want to welcome Ethel to the show. Good morning, Ethel.
Good morning. Dawn, I have a rose. All my other roses came out and blooming beautifully, but this one is green. There's no buds. There's no nothing.
Does it kind of look like it's coming up at the base rather than out of the canes that were visible?
I'm outside.
And is it growing quite rapidly?
I don't think so. No, it's not. One of the leaves appeared to have a little bit of curl on it, but not the others. Mm-hmm. So I didn't put it.
Because they're not blooming, Ethel, and this is the rose blooming time of the year. They're just all over the place blooming. Because it's not blooming, my first thought, and I think Ken's nodding his head, that it's the top of the rose above the graft has died over the winter. And what's growing is the rootstock, and it's coming up beside the rose, and that rootstock won't bloom the first year. It comes up, and then it's got a wild kind of a species rose type blossom on it, very single and whatnot, and that would come next year. But generally not that useful for most people. It'd be the rootstock that's growing. So, Ethel, you may have lost that rose.
It is about 10 years old.
Yeah.
Right. I lost my Olympiad this year, which is very sad, and it's growing like crazy at the base. It's got 3 feet of growth coming up at the base.
And I have shoots coming up, not from underground, but from the stalk, little shoots, and then I have some growth that's on the stem of the others, but nothing.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I think it's something where, like with mine, I had a rose. Actually, I had 2 roses in that spot, and they same thing, didn't bloom. Last year didn't bloom. This year I just left it because this is last chance, because I knew the wood would ripen and produce flowers. And sure enough, it flowered this year, and they're red, and that's typically a sign that it's a wild rose. So I'm going to rip it out, and I will put a new rose in there and try.
Oh, that's what that's what I'll do. And last year I remember I had problems with one of my other roses, similar, but I think it died, but it had green, and it now this year is full bloom, but it's a wild rose.
Yeah, too bad.
And I don't need a wild rose where it is.
No.
Okay, so dig her out.
You bet. All right.
Okay, thanks so much, guys. Have a good day. Happy Father's Day to you guys.
Oh, thank you, dear. Thank you very much, Ethel. Take care.
Okay.
Good luck with that. Bye-bye.
Yep, bye-bye now. And we're going to go back to the phone lines here, I think. Maybe not. Nope, we're not. Tell you what, I just, for interest's sake, on this coffee ground deal, the University of Arizona has come up with some study on it.
Mm-hmm.
And coffee beans, seeds that are nitrogen-rich proteins needed for germination and growth. Protein comprise over 10% of coffee grounds. In fact, the carbon-to-nitrogen ratio of coffee grounds can be an ideal ratio for plant and soil nutrition, as low as 11:1. Since coffee is extracted in water, the compounds that are not water-soluble, oils, lipids, triglycerides, and fatty acids, remain in the ground along with the cellulose and indigestible sugars. Lignin, phenolics, and essential oils are also left over from the brewing process, and these compounds are reported to have antioxidant and antimicrobial properties. Soil-borne bacteria and fungi break down the various chemical components of coffee grounds after several months. Earthworms are also able to use this food source. Earthworms consume coffee grounds and deposit them deep in the soil. This may account for noted improvement in soil structure, such as increased aggregation. Humic substances, which are important chemical and structural soil components, are ultimately produced through organic matter degradation. This includes degradation of coffee grounds. So I guess, and it goes on and on and on. That's the University of Arizona study on coffee grounds. So if you want to learn more about it, and those are the sites that I like to go to.
Yes.
Because they really break it down. Mm-hmm. And they got all that money to work with. Ken and I would love to be university PhD guys playing around with stuff. But unfortunately, we have to make a living.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got Sean joining us. Good morning, Sean.
Hi there. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Morning.
You have a question for us?
Hi, I got a quick. I couldn't hear you very well there. Turn up the volume.
Perfect.
I want to top dress my grass and add some grass seed. Is it too late for that?
No, you could do that for sure. It can be done anytime. As you know, the golf courses, they're constantly working on their soil structure and working on the lawns. They're always aerating, dethatching. They are top dressing. They're doing all that stuff on a regular basis, and they keep that grass looking great. So, you can do that for sure. And
okay, perfect.
Yeah.
So do you lay some seed down first, and then some soil, and then seed again?
Yeah, that's
the procedure.
It's all about the depth at which you put your top dressing on. So we usually use the fine Nature's Gold product because it's so fine and it just sets right into the grass. It doesn't stick up and there's not lumps and chunks everywhere. It's all nice and even. It also comes dry when you get it, so it's easy to apply. Kind of granular. You put about 1/8 of an inch, or say 3/8 of an inch over the entire lawn is the target amount. And so that would be perfect to bury seed. So, yeah, I would usually go over the lawn first with the seed and then top dress over that, just a nice light application. If actually, I don't think there's going to be any issue with that whatsoever. And then water it in, of course, and keep it moist to get that grass seed germinating.
Okay, so I can just go ahead and do it today. There's no temperature. You don't have to worry about it being too warm.
As long as you get the water on it.
Yeah, water it in when you're done.
Okay, perfect.
Thanks, Sean.
You guys have a great weekend.
And you as well, buddy.
Yeah, good
Take
luck.
care.
Bye-bye.
Okay,
bye.
Bye. Yeah, so, people say, when do you sow, when's the best time to sow lawn with seed? I've sown into the snow. I've scratched grass seed into the snow. Grass seed is naturally falls in the fall and sits all winter and then germinates in the spring. Pretty easy to grow. The key thing in this weather and this heat is you got to keep the moisture up.
Yeah,
because once that grass seed germinates, and if it dries parched, it's done.
Yeah,
you got to keep it moist.
That's why, just as another idea for Sean, I think is that I would do a dethatching or a power rake first. Cut the lawn really short, and then power rake it, and then put your seed down, and then top dress it. And then that just makes this perfect little environment there.
Oh.
And you're covering the seed so that it will stay moist when you do water it. But you have to water lightly, like just light applications in the middle of the day, unfortunately. It's not always the best for water conservation, but it does thicken up the lawn. I would just do a couple light waterings right when it's the hottest part of the day. Unfortunately, again, I don't like to promote that, but that's what you have to do to germinate grass seed.
Yeah, if you're growing grass.
You can also use burlap, which is one of the keys to patching. At least we've done whole entire lawns with burlap in the past, but in this case, if you have patches, a piece of burlap over top allows you to do the hand watering right through the burlap, and it helps keep the soil temperature down a bit and keeps the soil and the seeds nice and moist. So it works really well.
Ken, we're just coming up to the longest day of the year, June 22nd. And so very few days from now. So we're very close. We're 16 hours and some odd minutes along, 8 hours and 15 minutes longer than the shortest day in December. And on June 22nd, next week, this coming week, 22 hours or 16 hours and 21 minutes long, the longest day of the year. Now, ever so gradually, they'll start to shorten up again, but we got a nice long summer with long days, and I appreciate the long days very much. Wintertime is okay, but boy, those short days can kind of get to you once in a while.
Well, to me, I'm just tired.
Yeah.
By the time you eat about 6 o'clock in the evening and you're groggy and half asleep and it's dark out and cold and you just want to sleep. At least, it's me. But in the summertime when it's light out nice and late, you can be out in the garden in the evenings, and it's really the prime time of the day, really.
Hopefully, I can make a baby announcement. My cholla cactus will be blooming by next Saturday, so I'll have an announcement there.
Yeah.
And I'll publish a picture of my cholla cactus on the Facebook page.
I'll see if I can come by and get a little video.
I'll let you know. You'll be the first to find out. We'll have the cigars out.
Yeah.
Right. Fake cigars, chocolate cigars.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. Well, we're going to, right now, we got to do the tips and plants of the week, Ken, or we're in trouble.
Okie doke.
My tip of the week is if you want to save some money on annuals, then think about the annuals that reseed themselves each year. Portulac and nasturtiums, two of them that come to mind. Alyssum is another one. Yes, good for you, Ken. Oh, we got tons of them we could talk about, but that's and my plant of the week is nasturtiums. They're blooming in our garden right now. It's fabulous, and they were just nature sowed them from last year.
There you go.
Okay.
Very nice. I also have a tip and a plant, and my tip of the week is that when you're replacing sprinklers in your irrigation system, if you're doing that, you always want to stick with the same brand that you already have. All your sprinklers should be all the same varieties because each company has their own spray pattern that's designed to work with their own sprinklers. So find out the brand first, go pick up a new one, and replace it with the same type. All right, my plant of the week this week is a Ranunculus asiaticus, which is the lovely Persian buttercup, which is a cut flower. It's one of the best that you can get. They have huge heads on them, about 3 or 4 inches across. Beautiful, beautiful double flowers. One of the nicer cut flowers, sturdy stems, really good ones. And they are available at the farmer's market. I'm pretty sure today would be the day to go because they are starting to get to the end of the season on Ranunculus right now. And if you go to the farmer's market, you can go to the Red Roof Farms booth and talk to Ian, and I'm sure he'll set you up with some ranunculus, and they are gorgeous cut flowers. That's my tips and plants for this week.
We got to go. I'm going to save this Shigo quote for next week because we got to shut her down. We'll see you next week with more AM 1150 Garden Show.